Final video for fall cleanup, just going over what we have already done. All of these sections in the front by the curb have been fluffed, raked, pruned. Ground cover has been trimmed to the edge of the curb and the sidewalk. We started power washing a little bit over here because it was extra messy. So we're finding our footprints are definitely all over sometimes here. But really taking out debris, tidying up the Jenny, cutting back to the proper height. More cutting of grasses. This was all day one. And cleaning up behind and around the boxwoods, but otherwise letting them grow out because they were hacked back pretty far before we got here. Fluffing between the pansies. Keeping this edge nice and clean, this corner area all along the boxwood. And then around here as well, wrapping all of their juniper trees, keeping the edge of the Jenny within the constraints. We'll come back to this right after. The Jenny, the tree, all of these nicely wrapped and ready for winter. Fluffing, raking, and weeding. Lots of weeding has been taking place over the course of the last 3 days as well. Same thing down here, fluffing, raking, weeding, cutting back grasses, cutting back Jenny, all throughout here by the hydrangeas. In here, getting in these corners for the leaves that had built up underneath those shrubs, fluffing around the pansies and weeding, and also around here and here. And then in here, keeping that nice and clean. It's pretty bare right now. Over here, same thing, keeping this nice and clean and the boxwoods tidied. And taking out leaves from the rocks, moving the rocks back. Cleaned up. And then this is where we started on yesterday. And more leaves have fallen overnight and we've picked them up again. But all of these large evergreens have been staked. Leaves picked up. The yews trimmed back so that they're just more organized. Plants being separated from one another, not really growing into one another. Trimming the roses properly, pruning them, tidying up all along in here. All along in here, picking up leaves, fluffing this beautiful garden bed and weeding as well. And then in the springtime, we'll probably get to these planter beds as well. Leaves removed from here. Cleaning up this boxwood yesterday, just as a more overall even appearance. Cleaning up underneath the boxwood hedges and a little bit of shaping, but not a lot because once again, these were cut back pretty far and we don't want them to go too far back. So putting the rocks back where they belong as they were getting all over, fluffing this garden bed. And then these small dwarf boxwoods were very healthy and didn't look too rough, so we decided to keep them a little bit cleaner and did a little bit of trimming by hand so they're more in line without taking them too far back. We also got in here, fluffed and weeded and raked all of the soil. Very healthy, ready for the fall and the winter. Took out the as many tags as possible. As I see, there's still 2 more right there. Grab those on the way out. And then, okay, over by the pool, you can see all of these trees were wrapped, every other one. The soil has been raked and fluffed. Out here between the junipers as well, raking, fluffing. We found there's not a lot of soil right here or right here, so I recommend coming in with more fresh soil to cover the roots and to fill in this bit of a gap that's going on right there. Little bit right there, kind of planted this upward, should be sunken in more, so if we get more soil there, that could resolve it. And then just fluffing, weeding, raking through all along here in the boxwoods. all along and between, fluffing, weeding, and right here underneath this large tree is where we found the burlap. So we think this was planted probably still in the burlap sack around the roots. There's some roses back here. We're gonna hope they get nice and tall. And then just tidying up more of the pine needles there. And I'm gonna climb around to those staircase, and then we'll talk about those garden beds that we hit today. So besides wrapping the rest of the trees, we fluffed out these garden beds, weeded, raked, and fluffed and trimmed roses. Anything else that needed proper pruning, cleaning out between the boxwoods, all of that took place today, as well as power washing this area because our footprints were a little excessive, and the soil is now fluffed completely and weeded and very beautifully aerated. I wish I could walk through there, but it's a little wet right now. So going up here, you can see it's all been nicely raked, weeded, fluffed, roses properly pruned. Over here as well, I picked up all of those pine needles that had fallen off and then fluffed the soil. Soil's fluffed, raked. Lovely topiaries we'll have to tend to at some point. And then you can see a bit of our footprints. So I'd recommend next season, if we have little like medical shoe covers, maybe pop those on whenever we're in a garden bed, pop them off when we have to come out of the garden bed, and just be a little bit more intentional about how we step in and out of things so that we don't have to power wash every time. Up here, wrap those ones as well. These guys are sort of growing into each other. They're planted very close, and they have a nice outward structure. So they should support each other this winter, and the snow shouldn't be as much of a threat here. But also fluffing, raking all the way through here. We really got our nails dug in to these beds around the slide. But tending to the boxwoods, that'll come next year, as these guys are pretty roasted. We also made sure the drip line was facing something and wasn't just irrelevantly placed outward. And that concludes the fall cleanup for this property. Thanks.